It's quite amazing that life on the lawn was 10 years ago, because it seems that it was really just a minute ago for me on one level. So much has happened, yet so much has remained the same. I'm now living in a warehouse space in Richmond at the threshold of turning, yet again, my abode into a public domain. It's filled with collectibles. I'm open to the public with a bar and a show, and a museum of mimicry, I guess, kind of more 20th century kitsch for people to kind of take in. I guess the big difference between then at Butterfly Club and now at Cardo is that it's much more organised and much less kind of... it's still random, and the way I've acquired things is still very much random, but it's a lot more discerning of what I've chosen to keep. It's about the quality, not the quantity. And it's also about a very organised approach to dealing with stuff. When Life on the Lawn happened, it was in many ways the catalyst for me ultimately selling up everything and wandering out of the place with a suitcase of press clippings and a few, you know, a couple of spesh objets d'art. I still have Murphy, my ventriloquist dummy, still a head in a box, but you know, he is on the list of things to do. I've cured myself of the obsession with corners, and I think that was kind of... it's funny when I watch that footage, I'm like, who is that madman? And ironically though, you know, of late I was mounting an exhibition I could have really done with a couple of corners, so it was kind of ironic that was part of the journey for me. But in essence, I think it's more about what can I use today, possibly tomorrow, but tomorrow is tomorrow, not, you know, the fictitious tomorrow. The me of yesteryear was a little bit of a compulsive hoarder, and everything would have a use one day. And so I tended to collect from that perspective. Whilst, yes, it was still kind of a very organised approach and there was the volume of interesting things, backstage there were boxes and boxes of extras. And why have, you know, 4 or 5 when I can have 27? Whereas now I'm kind of happy with the 4 or 5 quality products. I still have quite a lot of collections. It was interesting, you know, not long after moving into the space in Richmond, I inherited 733 broccoli boxes full of stuff from Uncle Ivan. Now, Uncle Ivan had pubs in the countryside during the 50s to the 70s. All of the goods and chattels were kind of boxed up in 83. His wife, Auntie Betty, was a compulsive hoarder who'd go to markets. And, you know, so I got things like boxes of butter knives where not 12 or 13, but, you know, 260 Bakelite butter knives. It was just insane. And it kind of all, it was, the will had been disputed and one thing led to another, and eventually the solicitors sorted things out where I got these 733 broccoli boxes. Now, it can only be described as stuff, fascinating stuff. You know, old Johnny Walker bottles with a little Bakelite top hat and whatnot. Really interesting stuff. But, you know, how much do you need? And so it was kind of curious. Once upon a time, I probably would have kept most of it. But what I ultimately did was opened up the boxes, catalogued it all, if you like, or categorised it really, and then just put it all up for sale. And it was interesting in that Life on the Lawn, what was kind of a garage sale and sending stuff off to auction as a mode of decluttering, what in this instance, I got the boxes, I opened them up, I began to organise and sold them and sent things off to auction. Ultimately, the main thing I ended up doing was having a series of garage soiree where I'd invite dealers to come along, bring a bottle of wine, leave it at the little bar that I've built here, and then go around and collect what you think's $100 lot. Then I'd go and kind of play with the, no, don't be so ridiculous. How I can swap you that for this. But ultimately, it was all bargains. I wanted things to be moved on and to have another life. So in essence, I think that the Life on the Lawn experience was an important one in moving me on to declutter my life and ultimately my mind. So in the last 10 years, I've pretty much travelled the world. I've lived in Japan, I lived in Malaysia for a big chunk of time. I went on, and after I sold Butterfly Club, I went on, and my obsession with the placement of objects was satisfied through doing my 4th Masters in Ohara Ikebana, which is simply put Japanese flower arrangement. The beauty of that is that you create these whole worlds that only live temporarily. And so maybe a week to 2 weeks, you know, I can do a little bit of recycling and reshuffling. It might be 4 weeks. But then you toss it out and you can do another one. So the joy of creating and telling story through the placement of objects is satisfied for me through that, without necessarily needing, you know, 67 naughty dolls to kind of give me meaning to my life, or a box of corners. Hello. Now I'll have the whole frame instead, and I'll put a picture in it, hang it on the wall and enjoy it.